Hello, sixth grade. Today is Friday, September 11th, and I'm going to start out with today in language arts. You got a review list for spelling, and I did a mini lesson on text structure, and we did an assignment on text structure, and we did prefixes, semi, and sir. So, first things first, I want to talk about your spelling list. First of all, take your spelling test today, please, and email me your score. Remember that Spelling City doesn't automatically send it to me because we don't log on to that. It's just a place for you to take a test, and then your parent can either send me your score on Dojo or you can send it to me through email. This next week, we're not going to have a new spelling sort. We are going to review the last three. So you're getting a new list today. I'm going to share them with you through email. So check your email for your list instead of me holding up a paper here and you maybe being able to pause it and write them down. I thought maybe it'd be easier if I just share them to you. I'm sharing them to you today so that you can start studying. Instead of 20 words, it's 30. Some of you might have 24. And they cover all of the spelling patterns that you've had so far, but they're not all the same words. So make sure that you realize you're reviewing the pattern, but I used rhymers or similar words with similar patterns. So that is spelling, and that will come to you shortly. And then the next thing on the list was we talked about text structure a little bit, and the one we focused on was cause and effect. I don't know why I put your stuff away already. An author might organize a text to show you a comparison between two things. So it would be a compare and a contrast. They might organize a text to show you a problem and offer solutions. So that would be a problem solution. It might just be in sequential order, telling you how things happened in sequence. Or the one, like I said, it could be brought to you by a cause-effect relationship. And so today we reread you have already read 9 Young People Who Changed the World, and you have already turned in your collaboration questions. Today we're going back into the text to page 58 and 59, and I reread Louis Braille, and we talked about cause and effect. So keep cause effect in the back of your mind as you listen. Inventor of written language for the blind. A childhood accident. Louis Braille was the youngest of 4 siblings growing up in a small town in France. When at age 3, Louis was blinded in an accident. He was playing with an awl, a sharp tool that can poke holes in leather, and he struck himself in the eye. The injury became infected, and by the time Louis was 5 years old, he was completely blind in both eyes. A need for books. Louis's parents sent him to the local school with the other children. Young Louis was able to keep up with his schoolwork despite his blindness. When he was 10 years old, he was awarded a scholarship at the Royal Institute for Blind Youth in Paris. The institute still exists today and is called the National Institute for Blind Youth. At the institute, children were expected to learn how to read using paper embossed with letters that look like the ones you are reading now, only with raised lines. So embossed is kind of like, imagine if the text is, the words were puffy paint, and so it's puffed up off the paper. That's how they blind people used to read. It was a slow process to read this way, and the books were large and bulky, fragile and expensive. For the entire school, there were only 3 of these books. In addition, it was impossible for children to write anything that they would be able to read later. Young inventor. Louis got the idea for his new written alphabet for the blind from a military captain, Charles Barbier. Barbier's night writing system was comprised of raised dots and dashes on paper that could be felt by one's fingertips. This method of writing was used by soldiers who needed to communicate silently and without a source of light. Barbier's system, however, was too complex. The number of dots and dashes needed to communicate made it laborious to read quickly and understand. Louis knew he could do better. From ages 12 to 15, he worked on developing his own system of written language that could be read by touch. A lasting impact. The Braille system uses only 6 dots for each letter, and the dots are placed in columns so that the reader is able to quickly and easily comprehend them. The most important aspect of the system that Braille created is that each letter can be felt with just one fingertip. From the start, Braille's system could be written as well as read, simply by poking raised bumps into paper. Louis' system of writing is still used today. You can find it on signs in subway stations and airports, and Braille users today can even read computer screens using refreshable Braille displays. For writing, people can use a computer that prints with an embossed printer so that they and others can read their work. Thanks to Louis Braille, many people who are blind have access to the world of reading and writing for pleasure, education, work, and life in general. So next, we refreshed our brains there. Can I drag this thing? There we go. There, make it bigger. When you go on to my Google Classroom, you will see this assignment. Yes, this is new for me. I'm learning something new, so I'm trying. It doesn't quite look the same for you as it does for me. You may have a little assignment over here. Anyway, you'll click on this. You'll see that I have included 3 pages. We are going to answer question 1 and 2 on this page. When you open it, make sure you click Open with Kami. And let's see. Then I think Mrs. Herrig has already taught you guys all of this, but if you click the text box and you pick my favorite color, if you use anything but black, that would be great, because then I can easily see where you typed. Put your name on the paper. Anywhere you click or double click, maybe you can create a text box. This will save you from having to waste paper, and your parents don't have to spend $1 million on ink, because you don't have to print it out and take a picture this way. You can just send it back to me on Google Classroom. So our first question says, after rereading 58 and 59, what cause and effect text structures can you identify? So when you think about everything I just read about Louis Braille, what is something that caused him to do something else? What is some cause that made something else happen? There are several in this text. One of the ones we started with was from the very beginning. We said that him being blinded, or him playing with the awl, caused him to his eye to get infected, and he eventually became blind. So you could type in something like this. There's 100 different ways you could word that. I just said Louis played with an awl when he was little. Then I used a semicolon because these two sentences are both talking about the same thing. I can separate two sentences with a semicolon when they're related. And when I do that, the second sentence does not have a capital letter. It caused him to get an infection in his eyes, comma, and he later became blind. So this is a compound sentence because it's actually double compound almost. It caused him to get an infection in his eyes is a complete thought. He later became blind is a complete thought. I'm connecting them with a comma and. You can have another one of these that says Charles Barbier's invention of night writing resulted in Louis inventing an improved system. I think I spelled that right. So that's another cause-effect relationship that they talked about. And number 2 says, how does cause and effect text structure reveal the main idea? Well, what is the main idea here? This whole thing is about how he lost his sight, which caused him to invent Braille. So that is the cause-effect text structure. One thing caused another. So for this, all you have to say is spell that right? Loss, it's so tiny. Louis Braille's own loss of sight resulted in his invention of the Braille system. Braille reading system. There, I like that. And once you've answered something similar to one of those for both 1 and 2, then you can scroll up. The other part of your assignment is to fill in this chart. I need you to make a text box that gives a definition of semi. It means half. Make another one for the definition of sir. It means over or above. And we came up with a couple examples of words. Oops. There we go. Semicircle is a half circle. And I've heard of like semi. Hey, what'd I do wrong? Ah, there we go. Semi-automatic, something I've heard a lot. And it means it is partially automatic. It's not fully automatic. And for sir, we had surplus. If you have a surplus of something, it means you have over the amount you need. You have extra. And we did surface. And when you reach the surface of the water, that's like coming, let's see, surfaces above the water, I guess is what I think of when I do that one. And we did not do any of the next page. We didn't fill in a sentence here. When you finish with that, make sure you go in and save it. Click save and click save now, even if it says it was already saved. Let's just make sure and click save now. And then there is some question as to how to do this. I have been told that you need to go back to the Google Classroom, and you might even need to close it and then open it again in your waffle So if you close it and then you go back to your waffle, to your classroom,